The Mirth and Misogyny of Andy Capp by Duncan Leatherdale. BBC News, the 23rd of March 2016. From the section Tease Image. Copyright Daily Mirror. Mirror pics. Image caption. Andy Capp has appeared in more than 20 cartoon strips around the world. Andy Capp was a product of the 1950s, an era when newspapers dominated and domestic violence was still a mainstream source of humor. Why, almost 60 years after he first appeared in the Daily Mirror, is a layabout lout from northeast England still popular? Homer Simpson called him a wife-beating drunk, while his creator Reg Smythe said he was a horrible little man. Yet the stereotypical flat cap wearing northerner from Hartlepool has clocked up more than 20 cartoon strips in newspapers around the world since 1957 and is still going strong. Although his ability to shirk work remains unaltered, Andy has had to change to suit society, says Nick Hilly of the British Cartoon Archive. It has more than 800 Andy Capp sketches from his first 10 years in the Daily Mirror, a shocking 140 of which contain examples of domestic violence. Some of the early cartoons are really unpalatable nowadays because of the vicious way he treats Flo, Mr. Hilly said. Image copyright Daily Mirror. Mirror pics. Image caption. Andy Capp first arrived in 1957. The cartoon on the left is the first ever sketch and appeared in the Daily Mirror's Northern edition on the 5th of August. He knocks her out and knocks her about. The first strip in the first Andy Capp album is him saying how one of his pleasures is beating up his wife, Flo. His violence was quite acceptable to the newspapers and the readers, probably because domestic violence itself was considered acceptable at the time. Smythe later said he regretted his character's violence towards Flo, saying, "He was too savage, a proper bully." It should be pointed out that the violence was not just in one direction. In some, the long-suffering Flo was the aggressor too, but only labeling the character a wife-beater is wrong, says Fergus McKenna, head of syndication at Trinity Mirror, publisher of the Daily Mirror. Image copyright Daily Mirror. Mirror pics. Image caption. Many of the early cartoons depicted domestic violence. Andy was very much of his time. Even so, I knew Reg regretted some of Andy's actions. He said he was not celebrating what Andy was doing. It was probably more of a criticism. There is always a danger of looking at history through a modern prism and saying, well, he shouldn't be doing that. He isn't doing it today. Where did Reg Smythe find Andy Capp? Image copyright Pa. Image caption. Andy Capp was created by Reg Smythe for the Daily Mirror in 1957. One of the favorite theories about the origin of Andy Capp is he and his wife were based on Smythe's parents, his mother also being called Flo. Smythe also reportedly told a colleague that Capp was inspired by a man he saw at a Hartlepool football match who pocketed his flat cap when it started raining. "You don't think I'm going to sit in the house all night wearing a wet cap?" he told a young Smythe. Smythe himself may also have been somewhat of an inspiration. After his death in 1998, Daily Mirror cartoon editor Ken Lazin recalled visiting the cartoonist and his wife Vera. After she had poured Reg his tea, he looked at his cup and shouted to her that something was not right. Vera walked back and, without another word, turned the cup so the handle was pointing in the right direction. Smythe claimed the idea for Andy Capp was born on the A1 as he was driving to London to meet the Mirror, who had asked him to come up with a comical character for the paper's Manchester edition. "He may be a horrible little man, but he has been good to me," Smythe once said. The Women's Aid charity, which was set up in the 1970s to support women who are victims of physical or sexual abuse, said attitudes towards domestic violence had changed. The problem is women are still unequal in many ways. You do not have cartoons in national newspapers making jokes about domestic abuse anymore, but domestic abuse is still trivialized in other ways. For example, T-shirts with jokes about rape or the criminal justice system failing to give tough sentences to perpetrators.